I'm very happy, friends, that I'm amidst the young generation of this country, and much more than that, that you are from TISS, the center or the institute or the, let us say, place where things are happening in a very authentic manner. I would say authentic because each and every production of your knowledge is basically we outside the TISS consider as a very authentic activity, and we value that because that gives a very important term towards the decision making in general, and also I would say about several issues which you do in particular, and specifically about the issues of underprivileged sections of the society. So I am here to give speech on Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj on the occasion of his birth anniversary. Friends, Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj is such a person who was trying to re-establish the Fulenian ideology in Maharashtra. I would say that from Mahatma Phule to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the period which was much more transformed or made it again to concentrate on issues of downtrodden was basically laid by these particular persons. As a result, I think we celebrate some people or one individual not for any other reason, but for their contribution of social engineering, and eventually makes all of us happy. Now, while accepting this particular invitation for me to come and speak on these issues, I realized that this is a good occasion, though in a very short notice, but convey what exactly I feel about these happenings and which happenings are created today's India. Unfortunately, we are amidst the volatile world of atrocious behavior of the privileged section of the society, and I have in my mind, and I had in my mind when I was pondering over the issues and related facts about the Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj. From Khairlanji or before Khairlanji, Ramabai's shooting here in Ghatkopar, then Khairlanji, a very atrocious behavior of the privileged section of the society, and then you have Kharda, then you have Somaiya, and you have several other things. Every day and every minute, the humiliation which is taking place around us. So at one level, we try to celebrate the social justice concept. At the same time, we also are consistently victim. A very sensible person or any sensible person would realize that we are living two lives almost every day. Yesterday, you already have the news about reservation. Okay? And today, we are talking about similar or let us say relevant to yesterday's political scenario. Now, I would like to, since I am from the political science, human rights and laws, I would take up these particular issues from the political science and constitutional framework of social justice. Before going into the details of the social justice, I will just clarify one particular illustration, and I would say that that will help you to understand what exactly the social justice is. If suppose that there is a driver of a private bus, private company's bus, and he meets an accident. Okay? What happens that after the accident, he goes to the labor court, and the labor court has its principle that he is a driver and he is from the laboring class. He needs to be given the priority even though he has a tortious crime, unintentional crime committed by him, but the justice should again not go against him, but the justice should be to him that it just happened by him, a tortious crime. And so, the compensation which occurred because of his error, he shouldn't be paying. Of course, he should not be absolutely scot-free from the event, but the company which is running the business for utmost profit should pay for the compensation. Okay. Now what we have learned from this social justice? The social justice that it is a weaker section one who commits a crime, necessarily not for the deliberate attempt as a mens rea in law, but it just happened, just an error and a negligent crime, or let us say a negligent behavior. Okay. Now let me, with this illustration, come back to the social justice in a larger canvas, and this canvas, let me just put it in a social engineering concept. As we know that the Constitution of India provides a very important concept, what we call, and just now the girl before me has said that affirmative justice. What exactly this affirmative justice from the legal point of view? That it is a protective discrimination. It is a discrimination, but it is a protective discrimination. Now, why the protective discrimination is very important? To correct the historical error. What is a historical error? For thousands of years, some sections of the societies have been deliberately kept behind as far as progress is concerned. As a result, to bring them to the mainstream, it is very crucial or crucially important to have such thing, and so the affirmative justice. Again, I will take a cue from the John Rawls, the most libertarian thinker, with his earlier philosopher like John Stuart Mill, especially the role of a state in rescuing some of the people from the clutches of discrimination. What are these clutches of the discrimination? That for no reason, without any logic, some sections are being made as underprivileged. And by making somebody as underprivileged, considered to be the privilege of the privileged classes, because they get all resources and not the underprivileged. The state as an apparatus, a state as a very important structure, Shahu Maharaj tried to highlight that the state should become a structure for distributive justice. Otherwise, it is not possible. If you see a very important letter which he wrote, of course this letter was used by the upper caste as if you know and if you have learned or if you have heard about this article written by G.P. Deshpande, a progressive from upper caste. He says modern history and unmodern minds. And a statement he says in Maharashtra today, now he writes in 1991. He writes in 1991 when there was one particular paragraph which was written about Shahu Maharaj in New Gazette, the updated Gazette, around 1989, and this updated Gazette has given a very important evidence that how Shahu Maharaj was trying to uplift, and his aim of his life was to uplift the most underprivileged. Okay. Now I'll just read out one particular section of it. In Maharashtra today, you cannot be critical of Phule or Shahu or Shahu Maharaj or Ambedkar without being subjected to mob fury. If this continues, it will not be long before we are back to Peshwai consciousness. Okay? And we will be doing so not in the name of Brahmin orthodoxy, but in the names of the best minds that the non-Brahmin movement has produced in Maharashtra. Now, in entire letter which he has written to the Lord Sydenham in England, consistently he says that there is a trickery by the Brahmins, as I said earlier in my earlier illustration, that he is nothing but an extended ideology. He was trying to put forward what Mahatma Phule has said much earlier to him. What he proposes that we need to have communal representation which will not have the Brahmins, and a society which faces so many inequalities because the society is absolutely priest-ridden, caste divided, and priest-ridden society. So to understand this particular consistent hammering of one particular caste which was not like this by this progressive, and he has come out with such a statement. Okay. Now this is another trick, and you see the second and third sentence of this particular thing. He proposes, and while nullifying or while denying the Peshwai rule which was so atrocious, okay, he tries to make a point that in modern Maharashtra, if you utter a word about Phule, Shahu and Ambedkar, then you have to face the truth. So, in the modernist discourse, or in the modernist egalitarian universalistic discourse, you use the weapon of this particular universalistic discourse, and you try to defend your own ideology. Okay? And that is why you will find that the students like you, or one who is very genuine to understand what exactly went wrong and what exactly happened for these 2,500 years, you come to such conclusion by such progressive, those who try to align the required facts, or let us say those who try to corroborate required facts which are required for the very truthful knowledge production. Okay. Now, it's very crucial for me to tell you that what exactly Shahu Maharaj has done time to time. All the issues, including Vivek, he has taken into account. And he was consistently warning the British system or British rulers that if you don't have people from the downtrodden and from the people, those who are not privileged, then you will face, or we will have, several other issues. Now, very important point which I would like to make here. British came here, you know the history. In 1818, you have the end of Peshwai, and British came or entered and established in India. Okay. Now, if you ask me the question that who is really responsible for all this, it's the Peshwas. Okay. And Peshwas would say, eventually what he says, unmodern minds. And at the end, he also says that nothing is written about Shahu Maharaj. It is only in 89, Sharad Pawar and his earlier, let us say, colleagues, they made to happen the gazetteer in an innovative manner with the addition of Shahu Maharaj's contribution in a very new way, as if Shahu Maharaj was not there before in a substantial form, in a substantial forms. So this is another trickery, I would say. And he consistently tries, G.P. Deshpande consistently tries to say that how Shahu Maharaj was not at all in favor of the freedom struggle. You know, the period 1991 in India was the period of subaltern volumes publication, and also history was trying to re-look at nationalist history, whether it is the history of also non-Brahmin and subaltern people. Okay. That is very important and crucial event for me to understand as a student of political science, as a student of law and human rights, that even in 1991, you try to locate the attention of people to focus again the work and also the credibility of one particular privileged caste in the society, and that is the sad part of the whole story. Of course, person from, I think somebody called M.H. Zadav, who did PhD on Shahu Maharaj, has also given a very important answer to this article appeared in 1992, in 1991 it appeared. Now let me just get back to the structure and social justice debate. In 1970, we in India started having the judicial activism. And in judicial activism, you have Justice Tarkunde, you have prominence of the public interest litigation which came to the fore to understand what exactly the role of the masses, even though you are not the affected party in the crime or in inflicting the injustice, but still, as a general public, you also have a role. Taking a few from the Justice Marshall of the American Constitution, who tried to have the judicial review, to review the judiciary's happening, or judiciary will have the review on the legislative happening, that is the parliamentary happenings. In India, we started having the judicial activism, and that is how you will find the social justice clause started widening the horizon of its functioning and its understanding. I gave you a very nominal example initially. Now, social justice is nothing but redressal from the caste inequalities. Okay? Social justice to paying dues to the people, those who were deprived for ages. But what exactly we see? A social justice character or the social justice, affirmative justice is nothing but a burden, a baggage on whoever goes for that. Why? Because we are under consistent Brahminical surveillance that we are this because of that. Who has committed error? Who is responsible for that error? Okay? And who is the victim of that error? We were never made. Now this letter which we wrote to the Sidnam, Lord Sidnam, should have been there for us, for these country's students in a study, that is in the curriculum. But we don't have this. And what we have? Same repeated, self-centered, self-located and self-mesmerizing contours and connotations of self, which are all the time favored and again favored. And I think they must have realized that now time has come that everything we repeatedly say similarly for ages and for decades. Okay? But till this point, friends, that I would say that last 5 years before Dr. Ambedkar is there in the curriculum in Bombay University Sociology, and from last year onwards we have Dr. B.R. Ambedkar again and Mahatma Phule in the political science syllabus. Now, a very important standpoint quite often people use about to understand a subordinated sections, let us say, subordinated sections position. Okay? When you have such an important, maybe coming from the Marxist ideology, but all feminists have used the standpoint theory to understand, to analyze, and then producing the knowledge about their suffocation at one level. But here you will find this standpoint, till this point, I would say, completely disregarded by the syllabus papers. And you have the responsibility, friends. As you go towards, of course, I will not say to you and emphasize on that okay, you should be having the Ambedkar for the sake of. Go for the analytical, critical appreciation. But absolutely discarding somebody's contribution which will take care of, let us say, entire society, not only 80 or 20 according to the democratic setup or democratic, let us say, politics, but it takes care of each and every individual, and that is what I would say very crucial. Till this point, how many of us know that such letter was available or is available? No one knows. Okay. Why? Because this is completely with a deliberate attempt to take aside from the mainstream knowledge production. Now, what I would, after understanding this, I have realized that Shahu tried to put himself in a very larger canvas. And this larger canvas, I can pick up as far as the freedom is concerned with the Article 19 of Indian Constitution and Article 19 of the United Nations. Okay? A very larger, very important canvas, friends. All this non-Brahmin. Now, first of all, I would say that G.P. Deshpande doesn't call him non-Brahmin. Look at the knowledge production, such as sarcastic at one level and also humiliating and also conspiracy. He doesn't say non-Brahmin, he said anti-Brahmin. Okay? You try to understand, Phule also never says anti-Brahmin. Phule always says non-Brahmin. Okay? There is a huge difference between two terms. Try to locate our attention. Anti means you are anti with someone or you are anti against someone. Okay? And so, all these suffocations for you as a student and the knowledge producers, I would say, otherwise whether it is empirical or the theoretical, you need to have a clear understanding that what we have to learn. We don't have to go for anti-Brahmin, we have to go for non-Brahmin. And so, his entire understanding, which has a link with the social justice at international level. Okay? First of all, I would say that social justice is a very prominent phenomenon elaborated by Amar Sen. Since there is no social justice, is entitlement project. Since there is no social justice, so there is no equality, and since there is no equality, you have a discrimination. Not only about the discrimination of dignity from the human rights discourse, but the discrimination of the resources. As a result, many people are poor. And according to Sen, what he proposes, that the poverty is also another way of violence. Okay. Why? The human engagement or the human life is not acquired. Basic minimum is not given because of the discrimination. Basic minimum is deprived. You have it over there, but you can't touch. Why? Because you are so. And who has agency to decide you under the democratic setup? Decided by themselves. Okay? No logic, okay? No truth, no justice, but still it is continued for ages. Okay? As a result, I would say that Shahu Maharaj tries to go for distributive resources system. All resources needs to go for the distribution. He doesn't say that, okay, not to give to the Brahmins. He says distribute it. Why? They are accumulated at one particular place. They are concentrated by few. They are acquired, used time and again. And you see the reflections why one particular section has acquired the knowledge and the resources. As a result, new knowledge is not emerging. You give the opportunities. What is the philosophy behind the affirmative justice? Opportunities are given and you come out with new ideas. The stagnant ideas which are always there in the corner continued for the ages and ages for all the syllabuses all over the country, and you produce the same. The producing same will have one particular hint that aiming at how to proliferate this particular community in its every extent. Their ideology, their supremacy, and you keep on accepting them. You don't say that, okay, now there is no questioning. I always say in all my illustrations, there is no questioning in the Hindu religion. Why? If you try to question, you immediately, it's a human, let us say, agency that you try to question other person if he commits wrong with you. And you have a very arrogant and also very small way of saying that why are you doing this in a very meager way or miser way or in a very rude way. You say, okay, you are doing this to me, right? We are not doing this because entire system is without the questioning. And if you see the enlightenment period, even Buddha, from this oriental landscape, the questioning is not given. On the contrary, questioning has made the history, whether it is in West or in the East. Okay? And so I would say that first time he tries to put forward his views that why there is always this Brahmin priest. And he has illustrated several examples that one of the person who was non-Brahmin eventually becomes a lawyer, and this lawyer, when he goes to the offices, in the court, a Brahmin judge is sitting there, so he has to be appeasing at level or appealing to get his work done. So eventually what he does, he tries to have the ages which he had earlier, now no more ages of his personality about the Brahmins or Brahminical ideology. We are not worried about the Brahmins per se, but we have to more locate the attention what Ambedkar has said, that Brahminical ideology of undermining other person. Okay. Again, my earlier point that Shahu Maharaj tried to link himself with the entire world. He has also mentioned in his letter about the health of the people. And if you see, the fourth generation of human rights discourse believes in well-being of the people. The first three generations First is civil and political, second is socio-economic, the third is solidarity rights, which we are under that process, and the fourth he proposes, the fourth what exactly is going on international level, that is the rights of the well-being of humanity. And it encompasses almost each and every individual in this fourth direction. I think you know the politics of generation of rights. Okay? So he tried to link himself in a highly universalistic manner. As I said about the John Rawlsian theory, or let us say Jeremy Bentham, or for that matter John Stuart Mill, those who framed the apparatus of state from the libertarian point of view, have tried to mention that there is a difference between the self and the other. When you concentrate everything on self, you don't say anything about others. That particular apparatus, the self-regarding and the other-regarding. Brahminical ideology is basically self-regarding. It never comes out of the sharing of a self and never reaches to the other. As a result, they never would have and they never had democratic, libertarian thinking. I'm not talking about a neoliberal policy, okay? I'm speaking from that, let us say, apparatus. Now, if you see the relevance of a state, now consistently I'm being reminded about yesterday's happening. Now many times you will find that, let us say from 1980 onwards, the reservation policy had implementation. Okay? And then onwards, there are several names were given, and eventually you had Mandal Commission in 1989. The struggle led by BP Singh and also supported by the Dalit community. Eventually, you will find also had to face critical aspect of the Mandal Commission. Now, last 10 to 15 years, state is negligent and at the same time state is complacent. Negligent to ignore one particular section of the society. We have a very greater canvas before us, the Nirbhaya's case and the atrocities which are going on Dalits and OBC and tribals in our country. A clear demarcation between. We may say at one level that negligent behavior, but it's not a negligent behavior. It is a deliberate negligence. Eventually becomes a complacent behavior. Complacent to the extent of somebody is losing the life. And complacent to the extent of somebody is losing the life, and after life you have a very humiliated behavior with those individuals and those citizens, those who lost life in atrocious behavior of the privileged society. They don't want to understand what is their error. On the contrary, they try to defend. Why did they do that? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? That you don't leave them alone even after the death. You try to play mischief. You try to play inhuman, humiliating behavior with the bodies of those women. Who gave you the agency? Who gave you the right? Our education system, our pedagogy teaches us that not to ask those questions. Okay? And you always do the study. If you go outside, then you will face the problems. Problems, right? So here, the structure has been framed. We have been schooled in such a system that we always carry with us that particular ideology, that not to question. As a result, all these things are continuing on and on. Ongoing, let us say, continuum, if I use a theoretical word. Continuum of violence against one particular section. Okay. The third aspect is about freedom and expression. We have Article 19 NGO, which speaks in entire world about what should be the freedom and why the freedom. To acquire, you have a right to life,